you can basically just do like a mini overview of GameBake and who you are and what you guys do.
Sure. So, GameBake itself, pretty simple, really. GameBake is a distribution platform and technology, and we're working basically to bring together all of the various different platforms that exist out there, be that alternative stores, such as App Gallery, Samsung Galaxy Store, Xiaomi Get Apps, as well as stores within China and various other markets as well. Or be that mobile, desktop, web platforms, social platforms such as Facebook, WeChat, and the likes as well. Just bringing them all together into one simple piece of technology, really, that can be integrated by developers, publishers, and studios into their games to take advantage of the platforms that exist out there outside of iOS and Google Play, and some of these core ecosystems that currently have a stranglehold really on on the industry. So yeah, we're just really trying to open it up, create pieces of technology that just enable easy access onto these stores and into these markets. So the developers and the publishers can focus on what it is they do best. Developing quality games, running quality ad and user acquisition campaigns, and working to monetize these games as best as they can, and not having to worry constantly about the various different technologies across God knows how many platforms that are out there, and yeah, have to keep shifting focus into stuff that I guess they don't really and shouldn't really need to worry about.
I think especially for indie developers, there's a lot of them, like I said, that are looking to get involved with publishers, but they're not really sure what publishers are actually looking for. Is there anything that you can say as your publisher that you're looking for in a new game that you want to have under your roster, under your library?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're not really sort of acting like as a publisher, so to say, in the sense of how someone like Voodoo and that works. I'd rather put us as an enabler that can work with developers, indie studios and publishers alike, as well, to just open up these stores for them and these different markets for them as well in a much simpler and more cost effective and efficient way. But in general, I mean, if a developer's looking to work with a publisher, it's all about just doing a bit of research, really. Finding, I guess, what that publisher is good at. Voodoo, for example, they have their specific areas of expertise, and someone as well like Green Panda, similar sort of area in sort of hyper casual in general. But they have a very specific genre of games that they go after. So if you go into Green Panda with a first-person shooter, it's obviously not going to happen. So it's not going to be as interesting for them as it would maybe going to one of the bigger publishers and players out there that are really looking for hardcore shooter games to publish across the stores. So yeah, it's just do your research. Really sort of from the beginning. I think what the sort of target audience for your game is. I've always kind of said that from the beginning, that you should be planning about the release and the distribution of your game from the very beginning of it, because there's no point getting all the way there and going, right, we've got a quality game, now what do we do? And that's half the problem we see with distribution as well. There's other services out there, and other people as well doing it themselves and integrating into these platforms, but it's kind of, right, we've got the game on there, now what do we do? There's no real proper way to monetize. It's difficult, if not impossible, on a lot of platforms to properly market with them as well, to take advantage of in some cases hundreds of millions of users that they've got. So for us, it's actually starting to build and bring together the ecosystem and bring developers, publishers, services, different platforms, all of them together, so we can just enable, I guess, the easier spread and distribution of games, really, and allow them to scale to more users globally and get in front of more eyeballs. Because I think at the end of the day, people want to play games, no matter where you are in the world, and who are we to say that they shouldn't be able to do it just because they want to download from App Gallery instead of Google Play, for example.
Exactly.
Let's enable it and get the games out there in front of the people that want to play them.
With what you guys have with your free games under the Mr. Bean IP, which I played a lot of recently over the past few days. Within your platform right now, could you tell me how that actually came about? How you managed to get the Mr. Bean IP and how you started it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just comes from many years of networking, to be fair, and kind of climbing up that ladder and connecting the dots of networking and somebody introducing me to somebody else and so on and
Mm,
so on. It kind of led us to the right people with within Endemol, now Banijay, and yeah, speaking to them really about the games that they already had out. I mean, these games were originally developed in house by Good Catch, which was a studio owned by Endemol itself. So it was all
mm,
developed in house, and they was just as many of these big sort of like corporate companies, they change their direction pretty often, and they
yeah,
kill things off pretty often as well. And unfortunately, these games were kind of what was left, I guess, of what was Good Catch and what they was doing in house. But yeah, they just weren't really getting the attention and I guess sort of the love they deserved. To be fair, they're
yeah,
great games, it's a great IP, and there should be a lot more sort of being done with them. And that's kind of, I guess, how we pitched ourselves to them. And obviously, with the distribution tech that we've got, it means that we can take them games and really just open them up to new markets globally. China's a big one for us that we should be hopefully entering Mr. Bean into soon.
yeah,
And yeah, looking on the app gallery, we've got sort of the first game out on there. We've got another one in soft launch as well to see how it performs on that platform. But yeah, just we was able to, I guess, sell them on the fact that our distribution itself is just going to open more doors for the games,
yeah,
which it proven it has already, and it still is right now. And as well, it's Mr. Bean, and they're good
yeah,
games.
yeah. Mr.
And
Bean's a huge name.
yeah, the developers in this, wanted to see what we can do with them, and see how they're made, and see how we can improve them and scale them up, even further than they already have been.
I think, especially with you guys, like you touched on with the various monetization methods that you guys have, where in Mr. Bean Special Delivery, you have like your VIP pass, which is basically the battle pass. You have, you can buy like the special box packages, and obviously you've used in-play ads. How was your experience with using the different those monetization methods and using in-play, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I mean, for us, we really wanted to explore new ways to monetize within games, and especially non-intrusive ways of monetizing, which I
Mm,
think is something that is already growing right now, and is only going to grow further and further over the coming 1, 2, 3 years. Users themselves and players themselves, they're kind of accustomed to ads now. It's
yeah,
just how sort of mobile gaming works in most cases, and it can get annoying, especially, with hyper casual. The idea is to spam as many ads really
yeah,
as humanly possible to really get the LTV that you need to make the UA, profitable and worthwhile.
mm,
And that's great. It works. You see, obviously, it annoys a lot of users, but at the end of the day, it's a data driven and it's a numbers game.
yeah,
So if the numbers work, it works.
yeah,
But I think being able to leverage more non-intrusive formats, such as in-play ads, is just going to be a way that it's going to enable developers and publishers to increase, their LTVs, potentially drop down sort of the rate of interstitials as well, but still keep them same numbers to make sure that they hit the metrics they need to, drive the user acquisition at scale that they really want to be. So yeah, for us, it kind of just made sense. It fits quite nicely into the game. I guess that's one thing as well. In-play ads, it might not work for every single game, but I
yeah,
think for a majority of games, it's going to work quite nicely. And Mr. Bean was definitely one of them, being sort of a side scroller, racing esque type game,
yeah,
similar to like Hill Climb Racer and stuff.
mm,
So it just kind of made sense for us really to at least give it a try in the first hand, and yeah, see how it performed for us. And so far so good. And we're looking forward to obviously working with you guys, more closely as well as we go through the coming months, and pushing
yeah.
forward from there.
With how monetization and marketing is going in general, how do you think it's going to be in the future for especially hyper casual and mobile games and just basically just all games in general?
Yeah, I mean, everyone obviously the metaverse is obviously the big word at the moment. Everyone's going on about, and for me, we're a lot more grounded. Such as game streaming and stuff like that. 5G, all of that. It's quality technology. It's definitely coming, and within the next like 5 years plus. I would say. I think it's going to take a bit of time to really penetrate properly into sort of the market and to the actual end users. So for us, we're thinking a little bit more about the here and now, and how we can, as we said, with our tech, with Kiln, increase the distribution into the platforms that exist today, and increase revenues with what exists, right now, today for the users out there and for the developers and publishers out there. And I think that's where in-play ads is really sort of a really good new unit for the games of today. It's going to evolve, of course, over the coming months and years, and it's going to evolve with how streaming and everything works. But in-play ads, I think, is one of them ad units that it can evolve quite well into sort of the streaming market. Where, of course, you're paying a monthly fee. You don't want to be seeing interstitial ads. You don't want to have rewarded ad options or in-app purchases. You're paying for the game basically. But in-play ads, it's going to enable a way for advertisers, and especially brand advertisers as well, to still be able to market within games and get in front of these users that are engaged within the game, and hopefully going to be engaging with the brands and so on as well. So yeah, I think as things move forwards, same as you kind of saw on social media, Facebook and Twitter and so on. At the very beginning, it was massively cheap to perform and market on these platforms, and that's because they had immense scale. But no one really spending. Not none of the big brands anyway that throw ridiculous sort of money at the marketing campaigns, and that's enabled so many people to grow massive businesses over that time. But as time goes on, these platforms mature. And brands start pumping their dollars into it, and that's when you start to see prices obviously rise a little bit. But of course, also it's nice on the monetization side of things as well. But I think you're seeing that somewhat within games. A lot of the last few years, especially with hyper casual, it's almost been a cross promotion game between studios. They're just trying to make sort of a few cents between each other basically. But other than that, they're kind of competing but sending users to each other at the same time.
It's a weird kind of thing. I don't know how that works, because like you'll download one game and then you'll get ad for a completely different game on like the main menu, and it's like you're trying to drive me away from playing your game right now. Like what? This is confusing. What's going on?
That's what I mean. And I mean, you're monetizing at the moment. A lot of people are monetizing with ads, but you're basically monetizing by advertising your competitors, and pushing users to another game. And that obviously that's going to hurt your retention. It's going to hurt your engagement within the game, because the whole point is to keep players as engaged and in your game as long as possible. And I think bringing in new ad units like in plays, and with that bringing in brand advertisers as well, which you're seeing more and more right now, I think is really where for advertising specifically, it's kind of heading. And I think that's only going to be of benefit, to the publishers, to the developers out there, because everyone should hopefully, be able to earn much more from obviously these big bucks coming into the industry, but also, be able to actually create more engaging and I think more fruitful experiences for the players at the end of it, where, ads are not just shoved in your face. It's going to be a little more relevant and a little bit more unintrusive, I guess, as well, which is always going to be nice for people playing the games at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's weird because people have already, like you said, become accustomed to watching these 30-second ads of like other games to get you, drive you away from playing the game, which is a strange concept. But it's still weird, and it's in this kind of era that we're currently in, because if you talk to someone or tell them there's an ad in the game, it's still quite confusing for them to kind of like rope that around, because they've been seeing ads before playing a game or during a game all the time. And even way back in the day, like we have like games like League of Legends that do collaborations with Gucci. We've got like Fortnite that do collaborations with like Nike and stuff. So it is there, like it is constantly there. It's just it's under a veil, and I feel like you said with in play, once it because like you walk around in real life and you see banners and advertisements all the time.
Yeah,
It's natural and something normal anyway. So
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And I mean, I think that's kind of, you know, how things are going to be evolving really to, you know, just provide better user experiences at the end of the day. And it doesn't mean you have to show less ads. It doesn't mean you need to choose between experience and revenue from the games from a business perspective. I think it just means a little bit more thought about, you know, what type of formats you want to bring into the games and what type of ads you want to show, you know, how they are going, you know, how ads basically are going to engage with users
yeah,
rather than just how they're going to monetize them. I think is, you know, going to be something of importance, you know, going forwards, especially, you know, at the moment, it's just as these brand advertisers are coming in, you know, you mentioned obviously games like Fortnite and so on doing these brand partnerships, you know,
yeah,
with, you know, various different brands out there. And, you know, recently you've had like brands like Louis Vuitton as well, actually having whole games kind of developed around events and stuff that they're doing. And, you know, are, you know, be that sort of like a, you know, a birthday event or something for the brand or, you know, something big that they're launching. You know, people now, I think, and brands now are starting to realize how games, you know, interact with people, you know, how people actually engage with games. And it doesn't mean that, you know, old school advert games, you know, flash games back in the day,
yeah,
you know, you'd have a McDonald's game and it was quite clearly a McDonald's game. And,
yeah,
you know, you'd like fire in the McDonald's M or something along them lines and stuff. And, you know, it's just like, it was kind of just thrown in your face.
yeah,
That, you know, it was a game for that brand. Whereas now, you know, it can be a lot more, I guess, discreet in some ways. But having that, I think, actually makes the impact of the advertising much more powerful. And I think it has much more meaning and impact on the players by having it that way. And, you know, I guess as well, we can coming back to in-play, it kind of works in that sense. Because as you said, you know, real life, you see billboards, you know, you bus stops and God knows where else. There's always advertising somewhere. It's just how it is.
yeah,
And having that in the game as well, you know, but in sort of a smart and clever way, you know, within a racing game, for example, having the billboards in there and, you know, having that brand being shown over and over again, you know, it doesn't need to be based on, you know, direct clicks in CTRs all the time.
yeah,
You know, it can also be based on just brand value and actually getting the eyeballs in front of these these guys. And that's, I think, where the real value is going to start to come and start to build over the coming years as well.
Yeah, I feel like the way that they're being, well, you know, brands are being shown across games, especially with like Fortnite and Roblox, where they have these massive like concerts for like Travis Scott and Slushy and Ariana Grande, and like it's just it's a more intriguing and interactive way of showing brands, and
Yeah.
instead of it just being something that's flashed on your screen for a certain amount of time and then kind of just disappears. It's really making the gamers engage with what's actually going on and feel like they're involved. And it just blends in and it works well.
100%. And I mean, after, you know, as we said, you know, bringing the word like metaverse up again, but, you know, I think games are sort of central to that, you know, but it's what people, you know, interact with the most. And, you know, obviously there's so many other different sort of media content out there, you know, videos and everything as well. And obviously it's all engaging and it's all, you know, runs at massive scale. But I think games at the moment, you know, it's already a huge industry. There's games out there that are absolutely massive, and, you know, many more come in, building, scaling right now, and, you know, many more in development, I'm sure. But the industry really is, you know, I think only just sort of beginning, and I think it's going to be a real driver of, you know, over the coming years of what is, you know, what is the metaverse sort of thing. I think games are going to be an integral part of that actually being built out. And, you know, with games comes ads. You know, there's a business in it somewhere. You know, you've got to monetize, and, you know, if people want free games, that's fine. But, you know, it's got to come at sort of some expense somewhere. And
exactly,
if you can if you can make them ads more engaging, you can make them, you know, more involved and part of the game rather than, you know, just thrown in your face, then I think that's going to be a win for absolutely everybody.
As we're coming towards the end of this this episode of our podcast, I think it would be cool for you to share anything that you would like to share about GameBake and any future games or big announcements that you guys have that you want to share with our listeners.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's not much of an announcement in a say. But something we're working towards right now that hopefully within sort of by Q4 we'll be able to do do that big announcement. Potentially maybe I can come back and give you that big announcement at
Yeah,
that
you
time.
should come to the office and we can have a look at
Yeah,
it.
100%, 100%. But as I said, throughout I guess all of this and at the very beginning, what we're trying to do is really just simplify and enable the distribution of games, to more markets, more platforms globally. And right now that's via an integration with us, but we're working towards simplifying that even further. And for us, as I said as well, it's not just about enabling distribution, but it's about building that actual ecosystem
Yeah.
to make distribution worthwhile at the end of the day. There's no point distributing to users and not being able to monetize, not being able to market and perform user acquisition to scale the games up on these platforms. Without that and without the the various different partner services that we work with, including Admix as well, it really doesn't make it worthwhile to do all this distribution in the first place, no matter how easy it is. So yeah, what we're working on is really to simplify even further the way to get onto these platforms, which hopefully will be appreciated by many out there, but also bringing into it the services that are really required to build successful businesses and build successful games that can scale and can monetize on these platforms as well, and bringing that all into one piece of technology, as I said at the beginning. So yeah, right now we're in a good spot, as GameBake, and our tech's in a good place, but it's definitely heading somewhere where it's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot more effective, much more efficient, and yeah, hopefully in sort of the coming couple of months we can, as I said, shout about it a little bit more, and really show everybody listening to the podcast and everybody in the industry as well, just how easy distribution can be and how effective it can be as well to growing games far beyond what they're already the crazy scale and level of scale that some of these games already have in markets globally. So yeah, we're looking forward to enabling that with more partners, and yeah, we're really looking forward to working more closely as well with Admix to provide, not just for us and our games such as Mr. Bean, but also for all of the partners that we work with, new ways to monetize, and more effective ways as well to increase their revenues and get their games in front of more users.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what other games that you guys are going to come out with, and hopefully once you get over to wider markets, you'll get more attention to distribute and publish even more cool and fun games for people to play. Obviously, I will leave a link downstairs in our description for anyone to go and check you guys out on all of your social profiles, because we do have a bunch of indie developers listening to this, so obviously it'll be a greater market for you guys to reach out and connect and stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Michael. It's been a really interesting conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to close off with before we end?
No, I think that's all good. So I mean, if you're starting out with development, then as we said at the very beginning, think about your distribution, think about your monetization, your marketing plan, and whether that's trying to find and hunt out the right publisher to work with, or if you're going on your own, finding I guess the right resources and people to work in your team to make your game successful. Just think about it at the beginning, and don't get sort of in too deep without having these thought processes already as part of, I guess, your strategy and development. But yeah, overall, I mean, cheers for having us on. Really appreciate it. And it's been great speaking with you, and hopefully it's been helpful to people out there as well that are listening, and learn a little bit more, at least anyway, about distribution, about the opportunities that are out there and do exist, and as well with in-play ads, and I guess how we're utilizing it in our platform to enable more users. But the great things I guess you guys at Admix are doing as well, really to push that format into the limelight and push it forwards over the coming months and years.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mike. We'll close off the interview here now, but yeah, if you guys want to check out these guys, I will leave a link in the description. And yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you guys later.